Today's practice is going to be focusing on the movement from a dorsal vagal freeze reaction towards movement again, where we rejoin with the pulsation of life. And our focus is on addiction and shame, and how shame is a root cause of addiction, actually, and what to do to support your moving from a dorsal vagal freeze reaction, which is a part of the addictive cycle, into ventral vagal parasympathetic nervous system. This class is going to take you from some simple breathing techniques to more vigorous techniques. I'm also going to be covering the work we do with the lymph system. Some of the tools and technologies we use to help move the lymph system will be in this practice. And this is because when we come into a dorsal vagal slump or a downward spiral of shame, when we're caught in something, when we're feeling sedentary, apathetic, depressed, when we don't have enough movement in our lives, our system is getting backed up. And the lymph system is going to then adversely affect digestion, endocrine, and immune systems. So we want to be moving the lymph system and helping us move out of the habitual slump, the rabbit hole, the side detour that keeps happening again and again. Okay, let me know if you have any questions or comments. As always, you can put those down below the video. And if learning more about these perspectives, philosophies, technologies, and tools interests you, please do check out the URL. Also leave a comment down below. Let's get into the practice now. Thanks for being here. Welcome to this practice. We're going to be using pranayama to address the lymph system because we're moving between the vata dosha and the kapha dosha in the season of the year right now. We're also going to use this pranayama practice to address the lymph system because we'll be discussing the nature of addiction and shame and those qualities, capacities, revolutions, rebellions inside the human system, that is shame and addiction, create a residue that we end up carrying around. And some of that residue is going to feel to us like it's mostly psychological, emotional, or mental, but we cannot discount what the body is carrying. We cannot discount that because what happens with the lymph system when it's backed up and it then adversely influences your digestive system, which adversely influences your gut health, which adversely influences your mental health, is that the whole system is tied together. And shame as a result of, let's say, trauma or abuse or neglect or misperception in our earliest developing years can become a root cause for things like addiction. And shame is also connected to the dorsal vagal reflex in our neurological system, in our nervous system. And that dorsal vagal reflex is a kind of inward and downward frozen, we call it fight, flight, freeze, a freeze reaction where the gut-brain axis is not working optimally. In fact, it's suboptimal. Dorsal vagal is a profound suppression of your digestive, immune, and endocrine systems. And so insofar as we might spend time in that dorsal vagal place, we can really end up with the lymph, digestive, and endocrine and immune systems being dysregulated. And then let's add to that we have difficulty in our daily life from their mental perspective, emotional experiences, feeling motivated. Perhaps our life becomes more dorsal vagal, more sedentary, and we don't have really healthy movement through the system. So a gentle way to begin getting some of that moving is using a pranayama practice. And that's what we're going to be doing this morning. So please take a comfortable seat. You can rest your hands in your lap and let your eyes close. Lengthen up through the crown of your skull and let yourself drop down into your hips and your pelvis. Now, as you take your seat and you find your way into your body, notice the way your sitting bones connect with the ground and the sensations of your outer thighs, shins, or knees also touching the floor. If they're not touching, of course, it's okay. Notice the contact that your feet have, maybe the outer edges of your feet. And as you're bringing awareness to those sensations, now let the breath connect you more deeply to those sensations so that your mind, your breath, and your body are all located in one connected place. When you find yourself connecting to tangible sensations in present moment reality, that is a movement towards your best self. It's a movement towards an integrated, cohesive version of you. Just connecting in a really simple way has actually a very powerful effect. The greater our concentration on these immediate sensations, the less likely we are to be pulled into the Ferris wheel of the mind. Now, while maintaining a sense of connection to the ground beneath you, begin to lengthen up through the spine and sense the space between each vertebrae, beginning in the lumbar spine. The very base of the spine is the tailbone, then you have your sacrum, and then next is the lumbar spine. Imagine that space coming up into your thoracic spine. And then to your cervical spine. Lift the base of your skull and the crown of your skull. The sensations where you're connected to the ground are more dense and more obvious, but now bring attention to the subtle sensation of the space between the vertebrae. As you breathe into that sense of space, allow the inhale to get a little bit larger, more three-dimensional. You may even sense the expansion of the back ribs, floating ribs, the space between your shoulder blades. On the exhale, tone the deep inner belly And draw that tone up the front of your abdomen, a kind of inward and upward direction. Now begin to notice the length of your inhale, the length of your exhale, and start equalizing them. So your inhale is going to be spacious, takes a certain amount of time to do that. The exhale is an equal length of time as the inhale. During the inhalation, you are kind of resetting this pumping action that your body has with an expansion. During the exhale, that pumping action is contraction. And each expansion and contraction is having an influence on the lymph system, as well as your circulation, your heart rate, and therefore your heart rate variability, and the whole of your mood, your mind, your well-being. Now, of course, if we've been in a dorsal vagal or sedentary or downward spiral place, like with shame, it can feel very difficult to come back to just this simple breath. So acknowledge the courage it takes and do 3 more breath cycles. A simple inhale, bringing space into the body. Circumferentially, it's going to be the space between the vertebrae, the space in the back waist, the floating ribs, the shoulder blades, the heart. Simple exhale, toning the lower belly, moving upwards. So dorsal vagal is a downward pull, and these movements of the breath are requesting an upward lift. So it's a gentle and loving request of our system not to get stuck in that dorsal vagal place. Do 1 more exhale. And then noticing the influence on that, relax the breath entirely and simply come into reflection to see what benefit, even simple or subtle, comes from that practice. Now, a little bit more vigorous, we're going to start moving that pumping action in the abdomen. Ultimately, in daily life, the ideal experience is that you're breathing with your diaphragm, and that diaphragmatic breathing is relaxed and subtle in daily life. We're not doing constant deep breathing 24 hours a day. It's relaxed and subtle in the diaphragm, in the abdomen. And it's notifying your body and your nervous system that there's a general sense of well-being and safety. And then there are times where you're going to want to practice certain sorts of techniques to help regain that feeling of safety and connection. The dorsal vagal reflex in the body is actually a reflex for safety, but it's safety by withdrawal. It's safety by retracting. almost by hiding, right? Going dark, getting isolated. And that is not actually our ideal response as a human being. It would rather than dorsal vagal, it would be a ventral vagal parasympathetic nervous system response, which has an upward and outward quality, a quality of reaching towards support or towards others, or even a quality of giving to others. It's a social engagement network. So we don't want to be stuck in that dorsal vagal place. And so we can resume breathing at an optimal, ideal way throughout the course of the day. And yet it's going to get interrupted from time to time. Stress, distraction, habit, reflexes, cravings, aversions, all these things. So a couple ways to reset that relaxed diaphragmatic pulsation. One is to do this kind of off-gassing practice that we're going to do right now. So it'll be a strong pumping of the lower abdomen. It's called Bastrika. We're going to pump the breath out through the mouth, 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 mouth like that, but making the opening of the lips the size of like a straw so that you have to press the breath out forcefully. So this is the exhale. The inhale is spontaneous. It just comes in the absence of the exhale. So it goes like this. Long exhale. Inhale through the nose. Complete inhale, spacious inhale. Inhale up to suspension. And then release the breath whenever it's necessary for you or feels natural to do so. Now, deeply relax the lower abdomen. That can be hard if you've been in a downward spiral of dorsal vagal or shame. It can be hard to deeply relax the lower abdomen. See if you can allow for that, give that permission. Invite your body to breathe you. Now we're going to repeat that activity so you can get more familiar with it and feel the strength of your exhale, exhale, exhale at the pace that you're moving. Exhale. Inhale through the nose, up to suspension. Release the suspension in your own timing. And again, the practice is, can you now deeply relax the lower abdomen and allow yourself to be breathed? It is an act of surrender, whereas dorsal vagal is an experience of collapse. This is an act of graceful surrender. You now reach your arms out in front like this. And we're going to be doing a technique where we just squeeze and spread. So you squeeze, extend like this. And also do that rhythmically. Your body is filled with various rhythms that orchestrate for your well-being. Circulation is one of them. Lymph is one of them. The breath, the heart rate, all these things, biorhythms, circadian rhythms. So in this squeeze release technique, nothing really profound going on, but we're going to add a breathing practice to it. So it's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Five, four, three, two, one. Now inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, float the arms out to the side and deeply relax the lower belly. Allow your body to breathe you. That's an intentional surrender again, the release of the lower belly. Allow the natural experience of being breathed to return. And now we're going to be a little bit more vigorous. You can see we're starting slow and then it's a little more vigorous, a little more vigorous. This is on purpose so that you can develop courage along the way. Right? So this one's going to be inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So cross and spread the fingers and change the cross as you're going. Like this. Five, four, three, two, one. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Rest your hands in your lap. You may feel a little bit effervescent. Relax the arms and deeply relax the breath. Release any unnecessary tension in the lower belly. Now please come to kneeling. Of course, if you've been sitting in a chair, which is a totally appropriate thing to do when your body needs you to have that kind of support. If you've been sitting in a chair, now you're going to sit with two chairs, the one you're in and the one that's in front of you. Okay. So in this practice, we're going to start with some tapotement for the belly. We're going to include the side waist and then the back waist. And that's why when we bend forward, you'll want something to support your head. And that could be a second chair in front. It could be a block or two. It could be the floor. It could be a blanket. But begin by making 2 cups with your hands like this kind of shape. And then we're going to be tapping vigorously, moving down the abdomen. So we go upper, middle, lower. Right. So your lymph system has specific exit pathways, and there's lymph in the groin. So we're sending this abdominal lymph down into the groin region. It's also a way of working down from what we can consider to be the dorsal vagal nerve fibers are down here in the lower spine, this region. Sympathetic nerve fibers are in the chest and heart and upper back region. And ventral vagal nerve fibers are in the throat, face, and head region. So social engagement, fight or flight, freeze, collapse, right? So we're going to be moving down to awaken that energy so we don't get stuck there. Awaken out of that energy is how I should say it. So make 2 cups like this. We go from the upper to the lower. And we can stay at the upper for a time and just thank the liver, spleen, pancreas, the gallbladder, the stomach. All of these organs experience that suppression when we are stuck in dorsal vagal. So right now we're going to go to the side of the waist, ask those organs to forgive us, to wake up. And go to the mid-abdomen. The intestines, they also respond adversely to that dorsal vagal reflex. So do the front of the abdomen and also the sides. And then the lower belly. And then you can take the side of the hand and do a little, like a karate chop onto the groin spot right there. You have lymph there. Now we're going to make the hands into 2 fists like this. And then come up to kneeling, we'll do the outer hips. And we go from the outer hips around to the groin. And then pause, okay? And notice how things are feeling. And if you can, again, deeply relax the lower abdomen. And I know that that could be challenging for a number of reasons. So we don't have to assess all those reasons right now. Let's see if we can grant permission for the deep inner belly to surrender. Allow your body to be breathed by this pulsation that we're reawakening it. We want your body to resume feeling breathed by life. Please come up to standing. We'll take a stance. Let's go like a horse stance. So you're going to bend the knees, the toes point out, the knees point out, as if you're riding a horse. Right? Take 2 fists and we're going to circle around. So now in circling, you are again striking the back of the waist and the sides of the waist. Also the liver and the spleen, pancreas, and gallbladder. On the back side, you can aim for the kidneys. That's right behind the diaphragm. On the front side, you also could use a variation where you come up to the chest. So that's in the lung region. That's a fine place to also put some pressure, so you could vary it. And you can just decide for yourself. Maybe there's a pattern that feels good for you, like upper, upper, mid, mid. You want to do something different than that. Make it a little bit faster. And now let the arms swing. And begin to make a very strong exhale with what we call pushing hands, like this. Five, four, three, two, one. Inhale. Make the feet parallel and exhale. Relax the breath and your body and your mind. And now using your hands in two fists, you're going to go from the outer shins first, going from the ankle up to the knee. Inner ankle up to the inner knee. The back of the calves. Outer thighs. So outer knee up to the outer hip. Inner thighs. Back of the hamstrings. Inner thighs again. Outer hips. Back of the pelvis. Around to the groin. So the back of the pelvis around to the groin. And then come up to stand, whatever is comfortable for you. Right arm forward. So go from the wrist to the shoulder. Turn the palm over. The tricep to the armpit. The armpit. Sternum to the armpit. Now using the side of your thumb and hand, go just above the collarbone. And then right behind the ear. And you can make little circles right there. Other side. Turn the palm over. Tricep to the armpit. Armpit. Okay, sternum over to the armpit. Just above the collarbone. Behind the ear. And little circles. Okay. So all of that should have awakened some energy for you now, where your lymph system is moving. And we address that in a number of different ways. And one of the ways that your lymph system is addressed in daily life on a regular basis is that you are breathing in a healthy manner. So you're not breathing in a frozen way. You're not breathing just up in the chest in an anxious way. You are breathing in a healthy manner. Another way that your lymph system gets moving in daily life is actually with exercise. So going for a walk, having some cardiovascular exercise. Pardon me, I have a strong itch on my foot. So all those things that we do in daily life that are sedentary, or when we forget to breathe, or we're not in a mode of breathing, all of that is actually causing health problems that we don't see immediately. Because first of all, we acclimate to poor health, unfortunately. We acclimate, and we don't realize that it's like a downward grade like this. But secondly, we don't see it immediately because we think we're just sitting on the couch and okay, we didn't go for a walk, but we don't think, okay, my lymph is backed up and that's going to affect my digestion. They're both going to affect my mood and my hormones and my brain. Then I'm going to feel a little bit less like myself. I might reach for these sorts of foods or behaviors. I might find that the world is a less wonderful place and I'm feeling depressed, right? And so we don't realize the cascade that can come. And if we see that cascade and we think, oh, it could go in the other direction too. I could have some movement, I can move my lymph, I can drink some water, I can prioritize breathing in a healthy way, I can focus on good sleep hygiene, and my mood and my perceptions of the world and myself are going to be changing. So the narrative that we tell ourselves when we're in that dorsal vagal slump, or we're in a lymph backup, or we feel the kind of edema of the body and the mind, the narrative that we're telling ourselves may be very important to explore with a therapist or a yoga therapist or a mental health therapist, but it may not be the narrative that we experience in ourselves if we move the lymph, if we return to breathing, hydrating, and so on. So the narrative is not worth, emboldening into your life, but considering it as something to explore. Once you get moving and you regain some health, you're going to have an easier time exploring that narrative. Where did it come from? Why is it here? What aspects of that need your attention? What aspects of that would benefit from some curiosity and compassion? And what of it is no longer true as you discharge what your body's carrying? So now we'll have what we think of in yoga as a pranayama practice, like a more formal pranayama practice. Those were all kriyas, except for the very first thing we were doing with the smooth breathing. A kriya is something that moves energy and is cleansing, but this is a formal pranayama practice. Pranayama is that which moves the mind from the experience of the narrative mind into a concentrated inward mind and towards meditation. So rest your hands out over your knees, please. And close your eyes. Notice the felt sense of being connected with yourself right now. And place the tip of the tongue behind the top two teeth. A little bit of pressure there. Let's make the back of the throat more hollow and start listening for a whispering sound in the breath. This is called Ujjayi Pranayama. And Ujjayi means the victorious breath. So victory over the senses, actually, victory over the senses, over craving and aversion, victory over things like depression and anxiety or shame. So Ujjayi, smooth inhale, smooth exhale. Without undue pressure, without force, can you balance your inhale and your exhale? As you aim for that, many people have difficulty making the exhale length equal to their inhale length. So if you want to balance out the exhale length, focus on the first portion of the exhale, not the later portion of the exhale. These are deep thoracodiaphragmatic breaths, means it includes the abdomen, the diaphragm, and includes the thoracic region. These are expansive three-dimensionally. The exhale is a contraction, moving up the low abdomen. So you're acting like an ocean wave with a rhythm that resets the rhythm of your whole metabolic self. At the end of your next exhale, relax the breath. And again, deeply, deeply relax the lower abdomen. Allow yourself to simply be breathed. Now bring the right hand up for Nadi Shodhana. If we're going to cleanse the lymph and all that we think of in Western medicine as the dense body, we're going to also do the subtle body now. These are the nadis. So Nadi Shodhana, cleansing the nadis. We bring the right hand up. Gently close your right nostril. Inhale on the left side only. Close the left. Exhale, right nostril, of course, at your pace. And inhale on the right side. And exhale left side. And so you go back and forth between the two nostrils, changing the sides after the inhalation. Again, balance your inhale with your exhale. But this time, do not use Ujjayi breathing. Simply use the closure of one nostril at a time to regulate the pace of the breath. Let's do one more round, which is 2 breath cycles, finishing with the exhale through the left nostril. And you can rest both hands in your lap once again. Release any unnecessary tension in the lower abdomen. Invite your mind to be quiet. You can simply witness that your body is breathing you, and all these metabolic functions are happening in various rhythms on your behalf. Please raise your hands to your heart. Thank you for having the courage and for sharing your practice in this way. Namaste. And sometimes it can be difficult to know what to do next if you have been in a state of that dorsal vagal kind of undertow. It's also an undertow that can happen when the kapha season comes in, because if we didn't experience our vata season in alignment with vata dosha, we're more susceptible in the kapha season to a kapha imbalance, which is this sort of muddy, lethargic, apathetic thing that can happen to us. Also, when kapha is backed up in your system, you're going to have more edema. You're going to feel waterlogged. You're, in fact, going to be puffy, and that could be your lymph system is backed up. So sometimes a practice like this, you feel, okay, my mind is more clear. Now what to do? If I've been in that undertow, what is the next thing to do? And occasionally, if you've got that mentality like we've had in diet mentality, for example, or fitness industry mentality, or all or nothing mentality, or good, bad mentality, occasionally what happens now is we feel like, okay, I'm going to do it all perfectly. I'm going to get going. I'm going to make up for lost time. And I don't recommend that perspective. If you've awakened back to a place of homeostasis and harmony with your body, stay there. Stay in alignment with that, rather than pushing up to a sympathetic fight or flight, I'm going to get it all done, is really a sympathetic mode. So stay harmonious and do the next nourishing thing. We say this in Hunger, Hope, and Healing. Do the next nourishing thing, which might be hydrating, having a simple, nourishing meal. The next nourishing thing for you might be that you clean the floor in your home, or you put the dishes in the dishwasher, you take care of a chore that you've been postponing, but you don't clean the entire house. You don't have to give yourself that all or nothing mentality right now. If the weather is conducive, the next nourishing thing might be to take a slow walk outdoors and feel yourself kind of rejoining life. Like, the grass is growing, the flowers are coming up. There's a movement of seasons right now. Can we just feel that sense that life is actually in its own rhythm, welcoming us to be a part of that? So the next nourishing thing. Not everything on your list, just the next nourishing thing. Okay. Thank you for being here. Namaste. Thank you very much for sharing your practice. It's an important way to take care of yourself. And I want to acknowledge again that you had the courage to move through the practice, particularly if you've been challenged by some dorsal vagal undertows, or the undertow, the rabbit hole of shame. I want to extra thank you for being here. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down below the video. And if you are interested in programs that I offer that help people to recover from things like addiction or shame, go ahead and check out my webpage here on this URL. And if you're interested in yoga teacher training, where we help people become yoga therapists to learn how to help other people overcome things like shame and addiction, depression, anxiety, PTSD, then check out this URL here along the screen. They're both in the description below in the video description as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.